Welcome all, my name is Mason and this is one of my personal favorite editions of the Lewis Jewelers Watch Club Education Series. Today we're going to be going over the Omega Speedmaster and the history of how it became what it is. Back in 1965, Omega came out with the Speedmaster. The reference was 105.012, and this is going to become one of hands down the most iconic timepieces in history, solely because of its connection with NASA. So in the 60s, NASA wanted to find a flight-qualified, certified timepiece to be the mechanical backup for their electronic systems. So what they did is they sent out 10 requests for proposals to 10 different companies. Of those 10 companies, only 4 watch manufacturers actually sent pieces in, solely because NASA did not have quite the weight that they carry today. Those 4 brands were Hamilton, Longines, Rolex, and Omega. Of those 4 brands, only 3 watches actually went on to testing. The Hamilton was never tested because they sent in a pocket watch rather than a wristwatch, and sending in a wristwatch was one of NASA's very few specifications that they had actually asked for. The other 2 watches, the Longines and the Rolex, actually both failed on the temperature test, which was one of the hardest tests to actually pass. So it was subjected, each watch, to 48 hours at 160 degrees Fahrenheit, along with several 30-minute intervals at 200 degrees Fahrenheit as well. Both of those watches, the crystal actually melted and attached itself onto the hands of the watch and therefore disqualified it from testing because it did not function properly after that test. One of the other very impressive tests that the Omega Moonwatch actually passed and went through was the shock resistance test. The watch passed through 7 different shocks, each at 40 Gs apiece, and each shock lasting 11 milliseconds. So after both the temperature test, the shock test, and a numerous amount of other tests that NASA had sent through, the Omega was the only watch to come through on the other side unscathed. This was a feat that not even the engineer that designed these tests for these timepieces thought was even possible. The durability and the robustness of the Omega Moonwatch, along with the aesthetic factor, helped guide it to the 1969 moon landing, thus becoming and cementing its legacy as arguably the most iconic timepiece ever. So if you want to own a little piece of history and have that piece on your wrist, I do have a decent selection in front of me here of their current line of the Moonwatch. It's still a piece that they do make. So if you want to come, stop by, see these watches, learn a little bit more about it, definitely stop by at Lewis Jewelers. You can see us at 300 South Maple Road, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48103, or you can find us online at lewisjewelers.com.